Welcome on Watches TV, and with some of the team, we just came back from Singapore, where we attended the newly updated version of the Singapore Watch Fair, an event organized by Nael and Nelson Lee, and for the first time taking place on Sentosa Island, as the organizers managed to strike a partnering deal with the main resort there, and this has changed for the better quite a few things. So, as with any modern watch fair, you will find a mix of exhibitors, not only watch brands, and we'll get right to this in a second, with some of the cool things seen there: a fully handmade timepiece, a bit of Martian meteorite on your wrist, our friends of the HCI, plus some other updates. But as mentioned today, any watch fair needs to include other types of experiences, including panel discussions, of course, and this allowed me, for instance, to present quite extensively what we're currently doing with HOROPEDIA. But other panels range from technical subjects to new ways of collecting, among many other topics. So there were also second-hand pieces on display, plus some really gorgeous and historically significant timepieces shown in the central window, so quite a nice mix of things. But let's now listen to some of the guys exhibiting there, and then I will return with some additional things seen and a few cool ones. So Sarah, we know each other for quite a while, you and Dominic, and we've been following what you've been doing, but actually it's the first time I'm going to talk about this on Watches TV. Tell us a little bit more about it, please.
So this is the new model. We had another model in before, but this one is the first time we present it, which just released this year. This is the first watch which has been finished. It's called the Fundamentum, because it's the fundamental, which means the basis of watchmaking, back to the roots. It's a manual wind movement, but still everything handmade, still the same concept, which means every part of the watch, except the crystal and the jewels and the gaskets, is made in our own workshop in Bux, close to Aarau. Which means we start with the engineering, we get metal, steel, German silver, brass, and at the end, with all these materials on all our traditional machines, together with a team of Dominic, myself, and 2 watchmakers, we build these timepieces crafted by hand. We produce around, or we try to produce around 5 pieces a year. Okay,
so it's very limited, let's say, yeah, very exclusive. So what kind of customers are you catering with these kind of timepieces?
Yeah, it's the connoisseurs really, because it's also mainly the philosophy which is behind the watch. It's a manual wind watch, 3 hands, small second, which means you need to be in love with the philosophy behind. If you do the same watch by CNC machine, it would be higher volumes and would also, of course, obviously be cheaper. But we try to, it's like a living museum. We try to keep the watchmaking tradition, the old techniques, to keep them alive, to teach them also. We have David and Jan, 2 young watchmakers in the workshop. Jan just joined recently directly from the school. David is already working around 10 years now for us. So it's also transmitting of this information for future generations. So the whole, if somebody buys a watch from us, he does not only get beautiful, in our view, beautiful timepiece, but also he supports the craftsmanship in watchmaking and to transmit this information. Like you do it.
Well, it's indeed something that kind of,
similar.
Yes,
similar
absolutely.
Points. We do it in a different way, but still to preserve it by human beings who have the knowledge, and to pass them afterwards also for the future generations.
And mechanically speaking, with the first watch that you had indeed some really kind of audacious movement development there. With this one, do you have also something that's a little bit special?
Yeah, the special is it's a complete new engineering. Also, before we had this the tensor torque, the constant torque spring, as a technical approach. Exactly, yes, inspired by Anthony Randell. Here we really went back to the roots, which means the architecture is a traditional architecture, but we added this big steel bridge and also our special wheel design with the spokes. We have a balance wheel also in-house made with regulation screws, so regulated by inertia. So we try to have a very traditional movement with some special outlooks, some special recognizable optical effects, and then of course all the finishing which comes afterwards. We start the finish. When we start the finish, 70% of the work is done, which means normally if you talk to traditional brands, they spend a lot of time for the finish. We spend a lot of time already to manufacture the components before we can start the finish. So it's a whole, and we just wanted to have a really beautiful looking, nicely organized and recognizable watch.
And on a personal level, the fact of going back in a certain way to the original way of doing watches, what does it mean to you? I mean, have you discovered something that you didn't expect?
That everything takes longer than what you expect in the beginning. But this is also, we laugh a lot also with Dominic. When we first started, it was almost 10 years ago when we started with the first engineering of the first model, and then we thought, yeah, we will be super fast, and next year we have a watch or so. It took several years until we had the first watch, and then we wrote we will never make more than 10 watches. So you see, this one is number 13, which is in the picture. We are more or less 10 years around, so you can calculate. So we made 1.3 watches a year so far.
Yeah,
so
nice production.
We try to do more because we also have to make a living out of it. This is the idea. But it always takes more time than what you expect. It's always, we always underestimate it.
Well, congrats. I mean, we can only acknowledge what you guys have bringing to the table, and we appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for visiting us.
So you launched the Lang brand a bit more than a year ago. So how have things been doing for you in the meantime?
Well, it has been an amazing year since that. We launched from nothing, and we got a lot of PR and a lot of interest in the brand. The background of our brand, you know, having Gerd Rüdiger Lang as the co-founder, was the biggest gem we ever had. People got so much interest in the brand because they know him, he knew what he has done for the watch industry, and then they were surprised that he's returning with a new brand, and they saw and followed us, and the success so far was a little bit overwhelming in terms of sales, in terms of response by collectors, in terms of invitation by collectors. So the concept of launching a new brand with legacy was absolutely correct. People love what we are doing, they love the design, and they love the story behind. They know exactly what has happened in the watch industry, what Rüdiger has done for the watch industry in the past, and that we are carrying on his legacy with a new brand into the future, and we give his life an eternal status. That was the correct way, and also using the vintage movement that have not been available anywhere else. We are the only one using the Marvin 700 movements, which Rüdiger bought in the 1990s, where the Marvin company went bankrupt. He took over I don't know, about 10,000 movements, which is now a gem also for our brand, having an own movement, which is really something that you will not find with other startup brands. So we are a startup, we are a young brand, but we have a legacy, and that is something you cannot buy with money.
And with such volumes, obviously, it can carry you on for quite a while, I guess.
These 10,000 movements, at least, we just estimate, even if they are gone, we are having now the situation that we went and invested into reverse engineering. We have all components measurized, and we have them now in 3D data, so we can reproduce every single component which is missing, which is defective. So in theory, we can have now eternal supply of that movement, which also gives us a big smile on our faces, which you can see now, because we know this is the value the collectors are looking for.
And so far, we've seen kind of different declination of the base model, but are you already thinking of something new using probably the same movement?
Yeah, we have big plans, and we have already invested a lot of time, money, and brain. So the movement will be available in about 2 years in an automatic version. It will come as 2 different chronographs as a regulator. And we're talking about time span now of 5 years when we are launching all these different products. We're launching a new collection next year also, which goes again back to the 1940s. More elegant design. Now we have a kind of sporty design, sporty vintage. The next one coming is elegant and the kind of our interpretation of sector dials. But it's quite interesting, and stay tuned.
All right, so quite a lot of plans ahead for you guys.
We have a lot of plans ahead. When we built the brand, we knew exactly it's not about selling a watch, it's about building a brand.
Yeah.
And this doesn't happen only if you have a plan for 1 year.
And it doesn't happen overnight, that's right.
Exactly.
Thomas, your brand has developed really quite extensively over the last couple of years. Tell us a little bit why you're here and what you're looking into with the Singapore people.
We're trying to expand, and definitely Singapore, Asia is the next step for us. That we think that's the best market. Watch connoisseur, watch lovers, we bring a lot of substance and novelties to the watch fair, and we're here to meet some public and definitely some new agents and point of sales.
And I mean, one of your key distinctive positioning of your brand is to come with rather affordable, or let's say attainable timepieces. Yeah. How do people understand the value that you're bringing for that money here?
So the idea is really to come here, meet the public, show them our watches, and maybe lower a bit the suspicion that usually follows, because we have definitely the best prices in the industry for the quality we offer.
And how is the response so far?
Public is coming, of course, always the same reaction. Some have already heard about our brand and definitely interested to learn more. We have novelties. We are presenting the Chapter 7, which is a beautiful watch, again, very accessible. It's design that people know, but it's a price that nobody knows. This is below $600 for a very, very beautiful Swiss-made automatic watch. And of course, the reaction are direct. We have already sold quite a few here on the fair.
So you're a big meteorite enthusiast,
I am,
and you managed to kind of pull your passion and watchmaking together. Tell us a little bit more about this.
So what I've been able to do is, I've got this. This is actually a confirmed piece of meteorite from the surface of Mars. It was discovered in 2019, fully confirmed. And what we do is we've taken very, very thin wafer thin slices, and we embed them inside the watches. So every single watch is slightly different, and it contains a piece of Mars.
So to have indeed a piece of Mars on your wrist, I mean, it's obviously quite unique.
Yeah, it'll be very unique. We're only making 50 pieces because of how limited this is. Of all the tens of thousands of meteorites that have been confirmed on Earth, only 200 are Martian. And one of them is these, yeah. And most of them are either small or in museums or in private collections. Very few people have ever had a piece of this sort of size and been able to cut it so thin and put it in the watch. This will be the first of its kind.
So do people that are interested in this timepiece also big meteorite fans, or is it not necessarily, the correlation is not necessarily there?
Well, it could be for both. I mean, you could be a watch fan, and this would be definitely a very unique watch. No one's going to have anything like it. And also, if you're a space fan or if you're into meteorites, this is a way that you can wear your passion wherever you go. And every time you want to tell the time, you say, hey, I've got a piece of another planet on my wrist.
Yeah. So with the piece that you have in your hands, how many watches still will you be able to do?
So 50 pieces, that's it. Today is when we announce it, so now you could be one of the first people to get it, and we'll inlay the dials. And the best thing about the dials is that because they're so thin, the rock will crack, and we've inlaid it into luminova, so at night it glows orange, just like the planet Mars. It's just super cool.
Could you tell us a little bit where you stand now with your brand development? I mean, we've seen you grow nicely.
Oh yes, no, thank you, Marc. So today I'm in Singapore. I'm presenting the whole range that I have today, SB04S, that is the small automatic version in 37mm, the classic SB04 that we know for years, SB05, that is a manual watch wind with 38.5mm with a very nice movement, hand decoration on the dial. Everything is bespoke as usual. And we brought out the SB07, that is our new sports model that was released just before summer. This is doing quite well. This is a sport model, also bespoke, sort of a very, very interesting watch.
And what is the response here with local collectors?
I think it's very, very interesting because they're surprised that we can do bespoke watches for this price point, because some of them have been seeing the watch online. Even I have a customer that flew from a border country, Vietnam, today just to see the watches in the metal. Some may know the brand, so it's a very good occasion to see them. I have quite a good customer base in Singapore for the last years, so it's a very, very good event for that. And for the one that just discovered the brand, they're very surprised that you can do the bespoke watch for €4,000 as an entry point. Yeah, very interesting.
But doing bespoke obviously means sometimes some logistic nightmares, I guess. How do you handle this?
Sometimes, do you mean like between 9 in the morning to 7 in the PM? Yes. Yeah, no, it's maybe a third of my work is logistic, a third time of my work is product development, and a third is workbench time, which is the best also because it's quite quiet compared to the two other thirds.
And what are your future objectives in terms of, again, brand development for you?
So brand development, we want to go to stay with the entry-level pieces because I strongly believe that bespoke is the offering for tomorrow. So I want to keep like the bespoke offering starting at 4,000–5,000 euro and going more and more up into development. I will present by the end of the year a flying tourbillon. So this is quite high model. It's a manufacturer movement. This is my design. So this is quite in the horology, and we just initiated a project of a jumping hour and jumping minute with a flying tourbillon on the back and regulator. So that would be very, very interesting, but this is for next year.
All right, well, congratulations and best of luck to you for the future.
Thank you very much, Marc.
So as mentioned, there were not only watch brands participating, such as my good friend Arthur Alexanian, whose eyewear presents many parallels with the world of fine watchmaking, but in general it's always nice to see and meet new people, see new pieces in real. And for instance, we had talked in the previous prime time about this young Dutch brand, Rich, who uses titanium 3D printing techniques, but it's always nicer to actually hold and feel them in the flesh with this original design, and you can clearly feel that the brand's founder is no watchmaker by trade, he's an architect, and this definitely allowed him to think differently in the notion of case design. And yes, well, this full titanium piece limited to 20 pieces, weighing overall only 50 grams, is quite an experience to put on your wrist. I mean, it's super, super light. Well, I mean, overall, we had a great time there. Happy to see the show evolving, and hopefully will only get bigger as Singapore is such an important watch hub when it comes to the quality and number of collectors found there. Actually, it even goes a little bit beyond this, as a few very serious collectors from other Southeastern Asian countries made the move to attend the show, even if it was only to meet one brand in particular. Yes, I mean, some people take their collecting duties very professionally. So though this show is now slightly off-centered, I mean, the people that came really wanted to be there, and it apparently translated in some good business action for most of the participants. And as a little bouquet final regarding this report, well, it was quite impressive to see this super spectacular Gérald Jantin jewelry piece from the late 80s with a small watch hidden under this massive stone on the bird's head. I mean, I don't know how many carats there are in total, but saying a lot should summarize it pretty well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. Wishing you the very best, and viva travel watchmaking! And yes, was nice to be back in Asia. See you soon. Bye.